Hello, and welcome to Tales from the Crips, a whitewater storytelling podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Cripps. As promised, here is part 2 of my interview with Nathan Werner. Kind of like watching another season of Stranger Things, you may be asking yourself, when is this going to end already? Well, not yet. Part 2 will cover Nathan's move into expedition boating. If you like to carry a loaded boat on your shoulder and look at rapids in remote wilderness areas, then you'll want to check out Nathan's stories of some interesting opportunities to do just that in Wyoming. Be on the lookout in the coming weeks for part 3, which will conclude the interview with Nathan. But first, how about a word from our sponsors? First up is Four Corners Riversports. Four Corners Riversports is located in Durango, Colorado. They're a full-service paddle sports retail and rental store. If you're looking to get on the water, look no further than Four Corners Riversports. Call them at 970-259-3893 or visit their website, www.riversports.com. This episode is also sponsored by Taylor Barker with the group real estate Steamboat. I've known and paddled with Taylor for years, and he brings passion to everything he does. Steamboat Springs is a wonderful town with the Yampa River running right through it and has a vibrant and friendly boating community. If you're thinking of making a move to the Steamboat area or purchasing a vacation home, be sure to get in touch with Taylor. He's happy to give you a lay of the land, the real estate market, and to help find the perfect property for you. You can reach him at 336-314-4353 or by email at taylor@brokerintheboat.com. And you can find those links in the show notes. This podcast is being featured on paddlinglife.com. Paddlinglife.com does a wonderful job of finding all the most interesting happenings in the world of paddling and bringing them straight to you in the form of news, interviews, articles, videos, and more. Check out paddlinglife.com. And now, on to the show. All right. So we're back here. So thanks for sharing all that about the whitewater stuff. I find it, or the park stuff and design. I find that pretty interesting. But for those that don't want to geek out on that, you did make an interesting transition, or I mean, maybe it's just the evolution of the play boating kayaker who is interested in experiencing more of the realm of kayaking. But you did maybe you credit a lot of that to Leif, but probably some others, but you kind of got the bug for like, hey, I can run some of this harder whitewater, and man, there's some cool places that my kayaking can take me. What were kind of some of the big transitionary moments for you in that?
Yeah, some of the bigger ones did start with Leif. We did a trip one year, and it was Leif, Natalie, and I, and we did it was Labor Day weekend, and we were going for the Black Canyon. So, but it had just rained, so the crystal was in. Oh. So we went to Carbondale, and we met up with Peter Benedict, and we went up and we ran the Crystal Gorge at way too low. And this was the year that Zoot Chute changed.
Oh, really?
So the Crystal Gorge is kind of the Crystal is already a steep, hard drainage. And then the Crystal Gorge is kind of that hard class 5+ gorge within this hard river. But it's broken into two pieces. There's the just kind of class 5+ section upstream, and then there's the completely 5+ inner gorge. Mm-hmm. And it had a rock fall, and a rock fell into the entrance of Zoot Chute, which is this 45-foot slide divert drop. Mm-hmm. And this drop on the river right side of it drops into the mine shaft, which is it falls into this cave down the right. And people have gone in there, and it's sketchy as fuck. Mm-hmm.
There's some scary stories from that.
So we run the Crystal way too low, and Leif and Natalie are just hell-bent on running the inner. So they wrap in on their throw bag and run the inner.
Oh, they didn't run Zoot Chute.
They didn't run Zoot Chute. They wrapped Zoot Chute and then paddled it.
Wow,
and,
dedication.
I didn't do that. At that time, I'm like, no, I don't do ropes. I don't do wrapping. So we did the Crystal, and then we went over to the Black Canyon, and we were going to do a 2-day in the Black Canyon. That's kind of my first expedition type river. And the Black Canyon, for people who don't know, I think is one of the top 3 rivers in Colorado.
Yeah. Hey, that was where Ben Stooksbury cut his teeth in expedition kayaking and got the bugs. That tells you a little something.
Yeah, it's expedition to the max. Like the river goes underground for long sections at time, and there's lots of sieves. And the old guidebook would judge rivers on sketchiness by spiders, and the Black Canyon has some spiders.
There are. My favorite rating is by Milo, who is this like Mountain Buzz character, Crested Butte guy who ran that thing a lot back in the day, and he would always rate things by plus, right? So this rapid is 2 plus, where the pluses are like how big the sieve is that you might go into, right?
Yeah, so we go into the Black Canyon. This is right after Tom Janney and Christian. What was Christian's last name?
You're gonna embarrass me. I'm blocking out.
You'll have to edit.
Christian Cook.
Yeah, you might have to edit that part out.
We'll have to edit that so we're not embarrassed.
Yeah,
just say it. Christian, Tom Janney, and Christian Cook. Go.
Tom, Christian, Rolf. One of the Hagedorn brothers was involved in that, and they were all like probing out the unrun rapids in the Black that year. Mm-hmm. And this happened, and then we're in there after that period. So Leif is hell bent on running Next Generation and running the Great Falls Portage. Mm-hmm. And I'm in there like, I don't even know if I should be here. This is sketchy as hell. I told Leif before we went, if it has a name, I'm walking it. And so we load up and we plan for 2 days and we paddle down. And I remember getting to, there was a story about Pete Stromberg in the Whitewater of the Southern Rockies, missed a line and swam through a sieve in the principal's office. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, Leif, I want to walk the principal's office because I read Pete's story. And you'll be damned, the guy just doesn't tell me where the rapid is until after we run it. And he's like, just so you know, that was the principal's office.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, thanks, you asshole. But I guess it wasn't so bad.
It's class 3, basically. Just don't mess up. Yeah.
So that was kind of the intro to expedition boating. And that trip, we planned to hike out at Chucker without a shuttle.
Oh, God.
So it's Labor Day. So there's going to be people.
Yeah.
So we go in, Sunday, Monday, because we spent Saturday in the Crystal Gorge. We were on Sunday, Monday. We came out Monday, and we're like, we're going to get a shuttle. We never saw a person at Chucker.
Oh, my God.
So we were going to hitch a shuttle to a place that is in the middle of nowhere, and there's no traffic to hitch a shuttle with. I don't actually remember how we got out of there.
Yeah, that was my next question.
It worked out.
Something. You kept walking up the road. Eventually you found a car.
Yeah, at some point it worked out. Somebody drove by, and I think somebody was like finishing their shuttle, and one car had gone through. It's a funny story. This car goes through, and they come by, and Natalie asked him if we could get a ride out, and they're like, no. It turned out afterwards, it was one of the office girls from the rafting company I used to work at that I knew really well. And it was just, she didn't know I was in that group. And she totally would have given us a ride out of there. Somehow at some point, Natalie got a ride out and we figured it out and got out. But don't wing your shuttle on the Black Canyon.
Note to self. Yeah.
That was one of our looser decisions. But that kind of introduced me to the whole expedition kayaking and multi-day kayaking.
Yeah,
And I had done some other self-support stuff on easier stuff over the years, but like I did the South Salmon, and I can't even really remember a lot of them I did, but the Black Canyon kind of became that one of those runs that I always really loved doing. And tried to do again a couple of years ago. And shit went pretty sideways.
That's another story I know, yeah.
But the Black Canyon was the beginning of it. And from the Black Canyon, like I would go and do multi-day runs in other places. And ultimately, I ended up doing the Clark's Fork box. I did the box 3 times. And the box is always the Black Canyon is kind of always compared to the box because they're both full of sieves. it was always said, the Black Canyon is the little brother of the box.
Right.
The difference between the box and the Black Canyon is in the Black Canyon, it's full of sieves and it's full of portages. It's obvious. Like, it's obvious the drops that you just walk around. Mm-hmm. The sieves are typically out of play unless you mess up. In the box, the sieves are a foot or two offline. Like, the line touches the sieves in the box.
Yeah.
So it's significantly more in play and sketchy. But those were kind of the evolution. Was start in the Black Canyon that introduced me to expedition kayaking. After the Black Canyon, the next year, this was one I had tried to do before. And here's another name drop that old school Mountain Buzz people remember is Casper Mike.
Oh, yes.
Casper Mike was based in Casper, Wyoming. And him and Aaron Mulkey had first ascended Box Elder Creek. Mm-hmm. And it looked awesome. So I'd wanted to go back there. And I had tried to link up with Mike a couple times to do that, and it never worked out. So eventually, Leif, Javier Engel, and I go up and do Box Elder. Mm-hmm. And the unique thing about Box Elder is you put in at a bridge, you run this canyon, and then you hike out. Mm-hmm. And where you hike out, you end up like 500 feet higher than the put-in. And it's just straight up this heinous embankment.
Yep, I've done that. Yeah.
And so it's Leif, Javier, me. It's significantly higher than when Mike and Aaron had done it. And but a little lower than when Stafford had tried to do it, and they had hiked out because it was just too high. So they bushwhacked their way out, left their boats. And,
I didn't know about that
bailed.
One. Wow.
It was lower than that, but it was higher than Mike had done it. And we do that river. And it's another one of those rivers where I'm kind of cutting my teeth into this. And Leif is just charging. Like, he's got to go, and he's pushing. And Javier this was the first time, I guess the second time I'd ever paddled on a river with Javier. Like, he came to Fort Collins he was working at the CDC and going to school. And, kind of an unknown. Like, we'd paddled in the swimming pool with him, but kind of an unknown. And
he's one of those guys, though, that like when you see him paddle once, you can tell how good he is.
Yeah. The first time I ever paddled with him was the Big Thompson pre-flood. And I had never run the middle big drop in there. And we get to it, and we go up, and it was the day of the Balloon Boy thing, because Javier lived near where the Balloon Boy shit happened. And that was this kid ended up in his dad had this hoax of saying the kid was in a weather balloon, and everybody's trying to save the kid in the weather balloon.
I remember that. Yeah. It's a big national story.
Yeah. And Javier lives right under this shit. So I go to pick him up to go kayaking. And we're trying to go around all the emergency responses to this potential kid in this weather balloon.
That's a random intersection with.
So we go up and we walk up the Big Thompson NAR section, and I'm like pointing out all the lines and all the nuance to him, and Javier's like, okay, yeah, I see that. And we get to the top and we jump in, and I'm like, yeah, I walk this way. He's like, why? We should just run it. And so I end up running a bunch of stuff with Javier, and I still just don't grasp how good of a kayaker Javier was. And we're in Box Elder. Him and Leif are just having a blast, loving this thing. And it was like the second or third main drop. I'm sitting there scouting this thing, chewing on my fingernails, nervous about it, don't really even want to run it, but there's no way to portage it. And Leif and Javier are off on the side doing glamour shots. Damn. I'm over here terrified, and you guys are, updating your Tinder profiles. No, they weren't doing that because Leif has been with Natalie since I've known him. But
figuratively.
But yeah, they're total glamour shots.
Got to populate the blog at that point. Yeah.
We get down, we get to Loaf, which is the biggest rapid on this river, and it's a big one. It's a big drop, no matter where you're paddling. It's a big drop. I've had the pleasure of swimming that one once.
Ooh, you did.
Yeah, I got stuck in the pocket.
Ooh, that's scary.
But Leif and I'm automatic walk. No way. And Leif and Javier are just yeah, it looks good. And Javier just goes up and runs this thing perfectly. And that was the point where I was like, who is this guy?
Right.
But we finish Box Elder. We get to the hike out. Javier's gone. Leif and I had this we're hiking out of this thing and don't really know how to carry kayaks up that kind of thing yet. And we're both just struggling with it. And by the time it took us an hour and a half to hike out of this. And if you're fast, you can do it in under an hour.
It's like a crappy scree slope too,
it's
though, right?
horrible.
Like it's not stable.
Yeah, you climb you climb 850 feet in less than a mile. So I mean, it's steep, and then you're doing it with a boat on your shoulder. And I've been with trips with people dropping boats down the slope, Spencer Mock, and then you got to go back down and help them pull them back out. And, sorry, Spencer. But Leif and I finally get to the top. Javier has jogged the shuttle, got the car,
Holy shit.
come back, changed, is like reading his book with his the classic Javier was he always had the big box of goldfish. He's like just chilling, eating, reading a book, eating goldfish. Leif and I come up and we're just like dead.
What a badass. That's amazing.
But Box Elder is a great one that kind of gives you, it's a day trip, but it gives you a little bit of an expeditionary feel to it.
Yeah,
Like
for sure. You're in there. I've only done it once, but it was cool. And I actually, Leif and Natalie were there when I did it, so we did it with them. And I don't know. That was actually good because Leif knew the lines really well,
Yeah.
and he was a good person to follow through that.
It's if it didn't have that hike out, that river would be a classic.
It's definitely marred by that hike out. Yeah.
It
was also marred by some local interactions we had with the police, but that's a whole nother story. We had the Colorado plates problem.
I think I might have been there.
We actually I don't. You weren't there that trip. No.
I've had that problem up there.
We also had a problem with Casper Mike had apparently stirred up some trouble like just before we got there.
Yeah,
which didn't help us.
Yeah, if that one didn't have a hike out, it would be a classic. And that's one that. With people who paddle on the high end of kayaking, when you talk about hike outs and people want to talk about like hard hike outs and terrible hike outs, the South Branch of the Middle Feather is one that gets tossed around as one of the worst hike outs in kayaking. It's no Box Elder. I do feel like I don't really want to talk about the South Fork of the South Branch, but I do want to mention just some fact checking of a previous podcast that I think is very important to that story because I think Leif got that piece wrong and it was critical to the story.
All right, let's hear it. Sounds
in
important.
the Pullen Creek story, he was talking about having a family size bag of Skittles when we hiked out of the Yuba Gap, and he was wrong. We had that family-sized bag of Skittles on the South Branch.
Oh man, just you really can't trust information these days.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's been rectified. Things are straight.
Yeah, of all the like loose fact in that podcast, that was the one that I felt needed to be fact checked.
We know that Leif's memory is sketchy. He couldn't even remember the names of the 30 guys that were with him on Pullen Creek.
Those Skittles were awesome on that hike out.
You'll definitely make friends bringing candy on trips like that. Yeah.
So Box Elder kind of led to this. This is what it's like to carry a kayak, like on a hard hike. And then I started to learn the best kayaking in Colorado is actually in Wyoming. So I started to explore around Wyoming a little more. I did Box Elder a handful of times. I went up and did Fremont Canyon, which is pretty unknown. Run up there. Did Deer Creek up there. And then one year, Casper Mike and Chase Nobles and I went and did the North Fork of the Little Wind. And the North Fork of the Little Wind was my introduction to the wind range. The winds are really underrated in kayaking. The winds are really good. There's really good stuff up there.
And tell us what part of Wyoming that's located in?
It's kind of based out of Lander. People have, and Aaron Pruzan, I think, explored a lot of the winds originally. And then different people have been up there a lot, but Pruzan definitely, I think, got into some of the first ones. And then different people would kind of tick off different runs. Evan, Kyle McCutcheon, Evan Ross, I think they were the first descent of Bull Lake Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who bought Whitewater of the Southern Rockies, which used to be the like quintessential guidebook for Colorado and the area, there was this...
Still is. It's just not available is the problem. Yeah.
There was this river description in there of this expedition to Bull Lake Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this thing. I remember buying that guidebook and being like, holy shit, I'll never do that kind of thing. But what a cool story. Like, these guys hiked 20 miles to go kayaking.
Yeah.
And so then I end up going to the Winds. And the first time up there, we did the North Fork Little Wind.
Mm-hmm.
And Evan was a part of that first descent too, and had posted the trip report on his blog. And we got up there, and the water was significantly higher than when they had done it. So we ran... So North Fork Little Wind, there's two sections to the North Fork of Little Wind. There's been some groups who have hiked in and made a multi-day out of it. Javier had done that, and I had talked to him about it at one point. Him and Janny and some other guys did that one. And the takeaway was, don't do it. It has these weird places where the river just unexplainably fans out into a wide spot. Oh. And instead of being channelized, it's over like a shallow gravel bar, and you end up knuckle dragging or walking it. So I have only done the day stretch of the North Fork Little Wind, which is roadside winds. You drive into the middle of nowhere. You hike for an hour and a half until you get to the river. And then you have these just classic, silly, low-angle slides for a half a mile. And then there's a 20-footer to a 10-footer. And then there's a portage that, if you're feeling spicy, probably could be run. And then you go down, and there's this awesome drop that it's called Boofington Heights. And for people who have done the Big South, this drop is like it's like a weird slide entrance thing to it, to the main boof drop on Cool World, only mirrored. So you like come through this thing, and then you boof off this knuckle through it. And then you get out and you start portaging. You portage this unrunnable gorge and then some other woody stuff. And then you get in and you start running this manky section. And it starts as class 4, and it just builds and builds and builds until it gets to be 500 foot per mile mank piles. So you just kind of bite off what you feel like biting off. The last drop of that section, I think Stokesbury ran. I think has been run, but most people walk around it.
But it's all reasonably portageable.
Yeah. And you walk around that, and then you're at the lip of the Stooges. And the Stooges are...
That looks so cool.
35-footer into this, like, the cliffs almost touch each other. They're so overhung over top of you. And then a 30-footer, and then a 15-footer, and then more class 5 mank to the takeout. And then in typical Wyoming fashion, you hike 1,000 feet up back to your car. Assuming you have shuttle, or you hike back up and then you jog back to your car, 3.5 miles farther up the road.
You definitely earn your turns.
So I've done that river 4 times, and that was kind of my introduction to the winds. And that first time was with Mike and Chase, and it was too high. So we finished, we got through Boofington Heights, and where it was time to start portaging, we were like, this is way higher than anybody's been in here. We don't think that we're going to be able to run the waterfalls, so let's just hike out from here. And so we only did half the run. And then the next day we went and did the... this is one of my favorite rivers because nobody knows how to pronounce it, because it's spelled Popoagie. And it's pronounced Poposia. We went to the middle fork of the Poposia, right outside of Lander, go up to Poposia Falls, and we run that section of the Poposia since we bailed out of North Fork Little Wind.
Okay.
So I did that, and that kind of introduced me to the winds, and I was like, that's really cool stuff up there, and I always wanted to go back. So fast forward a handful of years, and I run into Javier running the Big South. Like
Mm-hmm.
he had left Colorado, gone to Washington. He's in med school. He's in the middle of med school, and he's working at the hospital in Riverton, Wyoming.
No way.
So he had come down to Colorado and run the Big South. When Javier had lived in Colorado, he had never done the Big South.
Oh,
So I got to show him down the Big South. And then the next weekend, he's like, hey, you should come up. Some of the stuff in the winds are in. So we went up and we went back to the North Fork of the Little Wind. And that day we went in and we get there. We're supposed to meet a third person. And he doesn't show up. And eventually we're like, we're running out of time. We're just going to go. We're going to run it, just the two of us, and we'll just lemming safety it. So we like hike halfway into this 1.5 hour hike in. And it takes 1.5 hours, but like you can still see your car from where you end up at an 1.5 hours later. We get like halfway down. We hear somebody yelling up there. We look up. It's the third guy from the group.
What?
Which was, it was Brennan Cronin. And
I don't know him.
he's out of Jackson. He's
Okay.
he's one of these other hard chargers out of Jackson. He's done a lot of cool shit. And really good paddler and super savvy avalanche guy.
Okay.
So it's Brennan, and we wait for him, and he catches up, and we go down and we paddle, and the top all goes great, and we're making our way down. We get to the Stooges, and Brennan goes first, and his skirt implodes. I go second, and I just didn't tuck up. So I just like plastered to the back of the boat and dropped my paddle, tried a couple hand rolls against the undercut wall, didn't get it, swam.
Oh, no.
Javier sticks it and is like picking up the pieces and pushing us into the eddy. And he pushes us all into the eddy and everything. And we get all our stuff. And then, like, this is the eddy you scout the next one from. And we scout the next one. And Javier's like, what do you feel like? I'm like, I feel like hiking out of here, but I can't.
Yeah, you don't have much choice at that point. Yeah.
And Javier's like, well, you're a playboater, so just tuck up, hit the bottom, roll. And this is like a 30-footer, and then there's a big cave on the left that's like super chill, and you paddle into the cave and hang out in there. And he's like, so you're just going to tuck up, run this waterfall, hit the bottom, roll up, paddle in the cave, wait for me. And he's like, do you want to go first? I'm like, no, I don't want to go first.
I just swam.
So Javier's like, okay, I'll go first. And so Javier goes, I give him a couple seconds. I go. And I thought I saw like this flash of red in my vision as I like plug this drop and roll up, paddle in the eddy. And then I see another flash of red like coming off of the drop as I'm coming into the eddy. And that was Brennan. And Brennan rolls up, paddles in the eddy, and Javier got stuck in the bottom of that waterfall.
Ooh.
And just got his ass kicked in it.
No way.
And ended up swimming.
Whew.
So he swims out of it, and he pops up, and the bottom of this waterfall is the lip of a 15-footer. So he like pops up off the 15-footer.
Oh, wow.
And so Brennan and I are like
brutal.
in the eddy, and Javier's over the next drop. The boat circles, and we both try to push it out into the current and don't get it, so it goes behind the waterfall. And I remember looking at that and being like, Brennan, we don't know if Javier's okay down there. Like, as much as I want to push this boat out of here, we have to leave it and go make sure Javier's okay.
Yeah.
So we peel out, run the 15-footer. Javier's out. He's fine. And then the boat just never comes.
Oh,
like,
God.
it's stuck doing this loop of going behind the curtain, flushing under the curtain, going deep, popping up back in the cave, and just doing this loop. And so we
You really need a boat at that point in time.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And so we set up, we climbed back up we were able to climb to the lip of the 15-footer.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, maybe we can go up this side of the wall and get back up to the cave. And we put Javier on live bait on a rope, and he jumps in this thing and it sucks him down. And we're like, we pull him back up, and we're like, fuck that. Nobody's going up there.
No.
And so we watched the boat for a while, and eventually we decide that Brendan is going to go down a little bit farther to a drainage, hike his boat out, hike back up, rerun the 30-footers, and push this boat out. And so Brendan takes off and does this, and Javier and I are just like hanging out on the lip watching the boat.
That's a baller move, yeah.
Yeah. Well, eventually the boat is cockpit down through all this. Eventually it flips over, and then it fills with water, and then it flushes, and it finally comes off the lip.
Oh, of course.
And this was 45 minutes later.
Wow.
When it finally flushes. So then it's like, I need to chase the boat because Brendan's gone and Javier doesn't have a boat, and we still need a boat to get out of here. So I like run back to my boat, snap my shirt on, start chasing this thing down, and come down around the corner, and Brendan has the boat. Like he had just gotten out. He had started climbing up the gully. He heard us yell, so he ran back down, and the boat flushed right into the eddy he's in. So we get everything back,
saved.
And we get out of there. So we had a group of 3, and Brendan's skirt imploded. I swam, and then Javier swam, and so like this run's got it out after me a little bit at this point.
It's the real deal in there.
You know, so we finish the run and get out of there. We go back to Lander, and Javier's living in Lander, working in Riverton. So we get back, and for anybody who's never been up there, the Lander bar has some of the best hamburgers in Wyoming. We were 15 minutes after the kitchen closed when we got there. So we end up at McDonald's. And we walk into McDonald's.
Second best burgers in Lander.
And we order McDonald's, and I remember sitting down and getting our food. And Javier was always just stoked about everything. And Javier's like, man, I love McDonald's. There's nowhere else in the world where you can get this many calories for this cheap. Like, yeah, I guess you're right. And then I ended up staying the night with him, and we were sitting around drinking beer that night. And this was one of the takeaways I had of Javier was it's been about 10 years since we lost Javier, and incredible paddler, incredible mind in med school. And at his service, it became just so obvious that those lives really didn't overlap. All of the kayakers at his service had no idea that he's like top of his class in med school. And all the doctors there have no idea that he's this elite kayaker. And I got to see a little bit of both of that, like hanging out with him and just talking about what he wanted to do in his future. And, he's in Riverton delivering babies, and he's like, I either want to do surgery or I want to do family practice, like in impoverished areas, impoverished countries.
Really?
So it was kind of cool to see both sides of that. And that was the last time I saw him before he died, because from Lander, he went back to Washington. And then it was that winter was when he drowned.
Yeah. And it's cool to hear some stories about him, because I'd only intersected with him a few times, but I think anyone that did, like, it was pretty apparent just like what a quality person he was. And yeah, I mean, fantastic boater besides that, right? Like, but I mean, I know a lot of people that were tighter with him that I'm friends with, and like everyone loved him, and it was, man, what a loss.
Yeah, and that's kind of how the community goes. You spend long enough in it, and you interface with those people, and you hope you don't lose them, but sometimes you do. From that story, it overlaps with one of the biggest losses of this year. I left from Javier's house the next morning, stopped at the coffee shop because I saw the Demschitz van in Lander. And I thought maybe Dave was with him.
No way.
So I stopped to see if Dave was with him, and it was Bren.
Wow.
And Mike Patterson. And they were going to do the South Fork Little Wind. So I went into the coffee shop and talked to him for a minute, because I was like, yeah, we just did the North Fork Little Wind. It was awesome. We got our asses kicked. You guys should go check it out. And they're like, no, we're going to do the South Fork Little Wind thing. And I was like, okay, that's no Norfolk Little Wind, but I guess.
You got the wrong beta.
Yeah. So that had an overlap there. And then it was years later. I don't even remember what the motivation to go do the South Fork of the Little Wind originally was, but it was probably Riley Adams. We were looking for different things, and I had kept like talking about how great the winds were And eventually we were like, well, we should go check out the South Fork Little Wind. And this would have been 2018, I think. So probably 5 years later after I'd done that North Fork trip with Javier and seen the Piranha van going to South Fork. And so we start researching it, and the only thing we can find is a trip report that from those guys' trip from right after I saw him in Lander. And that was like the only beta I could find. Kyle McCutcheon had done it, so I'd reached out to him and asked him, and he's like, it's just a portage fest. And so we're like, well, we're going to go do it. And we go up, so it's Riley Adams, Spencer Huff, and I. We decide we're going to go do it. We just pick a weekend and go. The South Fork Little Wind, all of this stuff is on the Wind River Reservation. So anybody who goes and explores this stuff or paddles it, go and get your reservation fishing license. That reservation fishing license is a trespass license, so you can drive on reservation roads and be in the reservation.
Okay.
And get your reservation fishing license if you go up there.
As long as you give them, as long as they've got your money, you're good.
And I've seen rangers and been spot checked, and they've asked for our fishing licenses, our trespass licenses, and they've never told us we can't go kayaking.
Okay.
But if you show up there and don't have the license, they'll escort you off of the reservation. But so we go up, and we're gonna do the South Fork Little Wind, and it's just the three of us. The South Fork, you drive out into the middle of nowhere to Moccasin Lake, and then you hike 10 miles to get to the river. And you climb like 500 feet in the first mile, and then you just traverse at 10,000 feet for 9 miles,
really?
8 miles.
Wow.
And then you drop a couple thousand feet back to the river.
Okay.
Spencer and I got our asses kicked on that hike. Spencer tried to shoulder his boat through most of it.
Brutal.
I did the pool noodle and cam straps, and the pool noodles disintegrated. So then I'm just cam straps on the shoulders. Ripping into
your shoulders, yeah.
I've done that river twice, and both times it has taken all day to do that 10-mile hike. But then you get there, and it's just awesome. That first trip, there's actually a gauge on it. And we were 200 to 250 CFS for our trip. And we planned for a day of hiking, 3 days of kayaking. And we got in, and at that flow, we just made great progress and just picked our way down this thing.
So that's the sweet spot.
I think the sweet spot is 300.
Okay.
I've done it kind of 200 to 250, like at 250 dropping to 200. And then I've done it where it was 400 for the entire trip. And I think 300 is the sweet spot. But we just, we went in expecting to portage a bunch. Day one, I think we portaged twice.
Wow.
And it was just these super high quality slides and drops. One of the portages that we did on day one was a drop called Gingivitis. And it was a drop that Bryn ran. I didn't see a line.
Really?
It's incredible that he ran that, because that was one of the few drops in there that even looking at it, I was like, I don't even see a line. I can't believe he ran that.
Is there footage of him running it?
I never saw any.
Yeah.
So that was long ago enough that GoPros probably weren't as mainstream yet.
You had to hustle harder to get the footage.
Damn. But we run this river, and we get through. The other big drop on that top half was called This Ain't SeaWorld. And it was a drop. So Aaron Mulkey was the first descent of that river.
Okay.
And so he named most of the drops. And
he's creative.
I want to say they were all named after like Disneyland rides and stuff.
Nice.
But to Mulkey's credit, like I've talked to Mulkey about this. He did a 1 day, like hiked in, ran the river in a day, did the entire thing in 1 day. And I was like, man, that's one of the most impressive like endurance feats that I can think of, is to try to do that river in 1 day.
And on a first D too.
That was I think he went back on that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think that was the first descent.
Okay.
But Jesse Combs was a part of that, and he was the first descent of This Ain't SeaWorld. And This Ain't SeaWorld is this like slide to 20 to 25 foot vert, little pool where the right side of the pool goes into a sieve and the right side goes out this like 10, 15 foot slidey thing. I never got a good look at it because I just walked it. But Spencer ran it and he smacked his paddle on the wall and we thought he broke it and we're a little worried, but it ended up being fine. And, he ended up having a pretty good line, even though he was maybe 6 inches too far left. So he smacked the wall halfway down this 25-foot drop. And,
sounds bad.
But he goes around the corner and then he gets pinned on a rock. And Riley and I we had just gotten in our boats and ferried across, and he comes paddling around the corner and he got pinned on this rock. And I just like pop my skirt and I go up and he's head up and he's fine. It's pretty flat, but it's like sucking the boat down pretty hard. And I was able to just like go up, and it's the mom picking the car up thing. Like I go up there and he's super stuck on this thing, and I just like stuck my hand in the cockpit of his boat and just like picked him up, and out of this pin and get him back out, and then we keep going downstream. And that was one of the points where the old LVMs had this grab that bitch safety technique.
Sure.
And,
classic.
And it's the best safety you can do is grab that bitch. But that was like the moment in my kayaking career where I was like, that grab the bitch really worked.
You got to put it in action.
So
what do you think happened to McCutcheon on that run? Did they have the wrong
different
flows?
water level?
Yeah.
Having done it a little bit higher, we walked a lot more at 400 than we did at 2 to 250.
Okay.
So I think it was just water level. It certainly wasn't ability or class of boater. Like it had to have been water level.
Yeah, that makes sense. He wasn't shy about running the shit for sure. So
yeah. So we get down and we get past like half the river and we go through this big meadow, and we had looked at topos pretty close, and Scott Dent had done the river before, so I had asked him for beta and he had given me some beta on it. And so we get through this meadow, and that was like, middle of day 2 and Scott's beta, and we're like, damn, we're making time. And we start day 2 off, we're like, man, this thing can't get better, can it? Like, that was really good. And we come around the corner and the river just drops off the face of the earth for this drop, and it's completely good to go. Just
really
big kind of multi-tiered slide with a couple little holes that are nothing to really stress about.
Oh, how cool.
That big drop, and then we go to the next one. It's this little whale tail boof onto a big dome that you paddle down, and it just keeps getting better.
Oh wow.
And we just keep making good progress and paddling down this thing, and it just keeps just high quality as we keep going. And there's one piece where we had been told you're gonna run this double drop, and then you're gonna go around the corner, and there's an unrunnable 50-footer. And so we keep looking for that and not finding it, and then we eventually find it, and Spencer was 180 too far. So we're like, he's on the wrong side of the river, too far down from the easy portage. And so we're like, okay, this is a spot where we got to get out. And we had both kind of walked down both sides of the river. Riley and I are on river right, Spencer's on river left. And then we're like, all right, Spencer's too far downstream. So we had to like throw a rope over to him and tow him back up a little and get him over to our side.
Mini epic, yeah.
And then it's just kind of an easy little up and over a saddle portage to go around this. And it's possible that drop could be run, but the landing zone is so narrow and you're so far removed from everything that I don't think it'll ever go.
Not worth the risk.
But yeah, we run that, we get down, and then there's a really big portage in the South Fork. So this thing's like completely runnable. We've probably portaged 4 or 5 times total at this point when we get to the big portage. And the big portage, it's another pretty obvious one. You get out, and the portage is you get out and you just start hiking away from the river. And we had planned it out looking at topo maps, and you climb up 800 feet to get to a saddle, and then you drop 1,800 feet back to the river. So you're portaging.
Big portage.
You're portaging a 1 mile gorge that drops 1,000 feet. And when the Demshits guys did it, they actually went at river level and they ran a couple drops and did a bunch of portage at river level. We never tried to venture in and explore in there, but it has been explored.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you do this massive portage, and the second time we went in there, so Riley Adams, he has this thing where he worked in BC for a bunch of years doing engineering work and building hydropower dams. So he's got this comfort with bears that I just don't have. And we're getting ready to go to the winds, and I'm like, that's grizzly territory. And I'm like, we should have bear spray or a gun or something. And Riley's like, no, grizzlies don't matter. I'm like, bears, they don't care. They don't want anything to do with you. You just yell at them and they go away. So I've kayaked a lot in the winds and had never seen a grizzly. And our second time doing the South Fork Little Wind, we're in the middle of that big portage, and there's really only one place to portage. And we're walking through this field, and Riley just drops his boat and takes a couple steps back and goes, grizzly.
Whoa.
I'm like, grizzly? Thanks, bud. Glad we got nothing here except for a couple paddles.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, don't worry. It was only a yearling, and it ran away.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't see that one.
Wow. They're there, though.
So he saw that bear, and it ran off. And then the next piece of the portage is where we actually go into the trees. And so we're like going through the trees, and we're
every little noise,
making as much noise as we can going through the trees. And we finish getting through the trees, and we stop to take a little rest. And we're sitting on the boats and eating a power bar. And we're sitting there eating a snack. And Riley looks down. He goes, hey, there's that bear again.
What?
And we look down at the river, like right where we need to go, and see this brown spot moving. He's like, that's not the same one. That one has cubs.
What?
Like, I hate you right now. It was this mama bear with 2 cubs.
Man.
And I'm like, all this time in the winds, I've never seen a grizzly. And in the last half hour, we have seen 4 of them. And that one's a mom with two cubs. We have to go that way.
Wow.
And so we drop the boats and just drug them so they'd be as loud as possible.
Yeah.
And I keep like reaching back and banging the boat with my paddle to make even more noise.
Right. No surprises here.
We're like, we can go upstream or we can go downstream. There's only one way down. We're going to get about 100 yards from her, which mama bear with 2 cubs, that's closer than I want to be.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound optimal. But I guess Riley's theory worked. They don't want anything to do with you.
We go upstream, and she just watches us the whole way down.
Really? You could see him?
We're going as fast as we can through it. Yeah, it's just open prairie, so we're just watching her, and she's watching us, and the cubs are off playing still. And,
yeah, so she's just making sure you're not making any moves.
Yeah. At one point, we're like walking down, and Kurt Smithgall's the like third in our group on that trip, and he tripped and fell at one point. And Kurt afterwards, he's like, "Yeah." As soon as I fell, I was like, "Yeah, I'm the weak link. She's eating me." But as soon as we were downhill from her, they took off and just bolted up the mountain. But
that's pretty unique sighting.
There are grizzlies up there. And that's the only time I've seen them there was that trip.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be super remote, right? Like there's not anything around you at that point.
Yeah, and that one you go down a little bit farther. You put back in, and then you paddle through a meadow. In the bottom of the meadow, there's actually a stream gauge in there, which tells me at one point they looked at putting a dam in there.
Oh, interesting.
But they probably only looked at the bottom where it's all limestone, so it's not really suitable for building dams, luckily.
Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't be there. Yeah.
There's a stream gauge there, and that trip where we saw the grizzly bears, there was a black bear just hanging out right next to the stream gauge.
No way.
I was like, oh, there's a black bear. That one looks friendly. I don't care about it after we got away from the grizzlies.
Yeah, right?
But and then that river ends with this heinous limestone gorge. And the first time we did the river, we ran it. And I missed a line just barely and scraped against the limestone, and it tore like a 12-inch gash into my dry top.
Damn. Stuff's just sandpaper, yeah.
Yeah, just super sticky. And that whole section, anybody who goes into the South Fork, just walk that thing. It's not fun paddling, and it's pretty dang risky. And if you get out well in advance on River Right, you can climb up and have a fairly easy portage. If you get to the start of the rapids and then portage it, no matter what, it's a hard portage. Like it's loose limestone, just dirt slope, and you're roping your boats up and down. And
Gotcha.
It's you can have an easy portage if you just accept that you're going to get out a little early and just hike high.
Just commit to the portage.
Yeah. At this point, you've just done a massive portage around this 1,000-foot vertical mile-long gorge, so you might as well just
What's another little one?
take it off. And the quality of whitewater is all higher than that anyway.
Okay.
But I think the South Fork Little Wind is one of my favorite rivers in the world.
Wow.
Like I've been trying to push people to get in there. Mm-hmm. And I finally had somebody reach out to me this year on Facebook. And they're like, hey, I heard you're the person to contact about this run, that you know it. And I'm like, you should go tomorrow. pack the car and go. They didn't go.
Well, hopefully this will inspire some people to go do it.
Yeah.
That sounds like pretty, like it sounds like if you're up for some Class 5 expedition boating, you're going to have an adventure out there.
And 300 is the flow for it. I think at 300, you can do that river with minimal portaging. Super high quality whitewater, just fun slides. I have videos of it on my Facebook. I've thought about copying those to YouTube just so people can see them.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But I haven't. It's just on my Facebook. So if people aren't connected with me on Facebook, they can send me a friend request, and I'll send you the link to that video.
Okay.
It's worth doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's cool to put it out there and hopefully get more people inspired. Which
leads to the next expedition of the winds.
All right.
Which is the North Fork of the Poposia.
Oh, okay. I know nothing about this one.
Be happy you know nothing about this one.
There's a reason I haven't heard of it.
So this was one that Aaron Pruzan first did, and I've asked Aaron about it. He had a great time in there. I don't know what water level he had it at, but that's not the experience we had. Scott Dent contacted me. He's like, hey, I want to do... So, a little backstory on Scott Dent. Scott Dent was a long-time Colorado paddler, now lives in Bingen and up in Washington now. But Scott's thing is he doesn't like mainstream. If it's the river where everybody goes, he wants nothing to do with it.
Sounds right.
He lives in Bingen, which is next door neighbor to White Salmon, and I have gotten him to paddle the Little White with me once, because that's where everybody else goes.
You know, I'll take this moment to insert a little piece of information too, because Scott contacted me after he listened to the story of Leif and Poland Creek, and he said that him and I don't remember what the other name was, but him and somebody else went and paddled Poland Creek after that, like several years ago. So he
loved it.
It has been paddled again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He told me about that, and he liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it sounded like he got a good level, and they were able to paddle that gorge that they had ended up portaging. Yeah.
He invited me on that trip. I didn't go.
Perhaps related to the story you're about to tell?
No, not at all. Okay. But it is important to say that if it's mainstream, it's not really Scott's forte. Like he loves the expedition. We did some paddling over in Lake City that was in the Whitewater of Southern Rockies guidebook, and we went over and we did this river, and it was supposed to have this, like, it's called Cottonwood Creek, and in the guidebook it's like this picture of this 12-foot waterfall and picture of this 15-foot waterfall. That's all the drops. The rest of it is just wood-infested mank. I think we were probably the second descent of that, and I wouldn't blame anybody if they never went and looked at that river. It was terrible.
Rip it out of your guidebook,
yeah,
so you don't forget.
But those were the kind of missions that Scott really likes.
It sounds like the Scott I know. Yeah.
So he called me and asked me if I wanted to go do the North Fork of the Poposia. I'm like, well, what is it? He's like, well, it's basically the same put-in as the South Fork Little Wind, and it has a trail to the put-in. And I'm like, okay, this sounds like easy access. It's in the guidebook. Easy access, like 3.5 mile downhill hike on a trail. We're going to take out our car. Let's do it. 9-mile run. We probably portaged 8 of that 9 miles.
Oh, brutal.
We get in there and we found this nice little bedrock drop and we run it, and then it gets too steep and we portage. And we find another little drop that we ran part of and then portaged. And then we came across this really cool 10-footer to 20-footer double tier drop. We're like, yep, this thing's going to deliver. Like, if this is what we're in for, like, this is going to be a good river. We run that drop. It's good. I think that's the only kayaking photo I took of the entire trip. We come to the next drop, we scout it, and it's the same thing as it's the character of the North Fork of the Poposia is big drops, like big bedrocky drops. But the problem is every drop would have a feature in it that we felt was too dangerous to run. Like there would be big slide, cool boof, all the water goes under an undercut wall. We're like, nope, not doing it. You know, awesome big drop, huge slide, cool vert, sieve. And it was just so many drops in there that we felt were borderline runnable, almost there, but just had something dangerous in them that we ended up just walking a ton of it.
But it sounds like a charger that's willing to accept a lot of risk might actually go in there and run a lot of it.
Or
because there were lines.
Or we just had the wrong water level.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if Pruzan just had a better water level than we did.
Yeah.
Because I talked to Pruzan about it. He's like, yeah, I love that river. It was great. And I was like, we paddled a different river. But the river would, like I was saying, on the upper piece of the North Fork of the Little Wind, the river would do these unexplainable fan out sections where you're in the small river, it's confined bedrock, pre-channelized, and then it would just fan out. And you're knuckle dragging your way down a gravel bar that has an inch of water on it. And it was so much of that stuff that it was just
kind of painful.
Even in the guidebook talks about that. It's like, oh, it inexplicably just fans out in horrible sections. And
interesting.
But there was always a portage path. So, I mean, we get in there and these drops are questionably runnable, but there's always an easy portage. I remember one gorge in the middle. And at this time, I think the Black Canyon was kind of probably my frame of reference for hard portaging, because the main portage in the Black Canyon is this huge talus field through poison ivy.
Right.
The North Poposia was similar talus, no poison ivy.
That's plus.
But now you're doing it with an even heavier boat because we packed for 3 days, an extra day.
Yeah, so it's no joke.
And we've been portaging all day already.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
And then we get to a spot where it's the same thing. I remember we got to a drop where finally I was like, that drop just goes. It's like a 70-foot tall slide that just goes. And at this point, our mentality has been walk everything. So we finally get to like the holy grail of the run, this 70-foot slide that just goes. We walked it.
We just too beat at that point.
Yeah, we were in portage mode, so we portaged it.
Yeah, it's easy to be there. Yeah.
We get to the bottom of it, and it gorges up. And we're like, shit, this thing just turned into a box canyon, and we now have to like scout the whole thing out. And so we get out and we go high, and we're going across this ledge, and we're portaging this like boxed in gorge, or we're scouting this boxed in gorge, and we look at the whole thing, and the whole thing, there's nothing harder than class 3 in it.
No way.
We're like, man, this whole river has been like open, big rapids that we just haven't felt comfortable with and have been portaging. We finally get like boxed in and must run, and it's class 3, which was awesome because we did not want to portage that.
I'm sure that sounds like an endurance fest.
Yeah, we did that river in 2 days, and it was a hard 2 days. There's not a lot of rivers out there where I'm like, I would never go do that river again. Right after I come off, I've had that on several, but that one is one where, yeah, it's got to be pushing 10 years. And I'm still like, I would never go back to that thing. And I would never recommend anybody else go to the North Poposia unless you're just really a glutton for punishment.
Left an imprint on your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool though. How there really is, Wyoming has a lot of kind of maybe unexplored is not quite true, but rarely explored areas that it's real, and it's pretty accessible to anyone in the Western Rockies here.
It's underexplored, and I think because of whitewater of the Southern Rockies, Bull Lake for the winds, this is all the winds. If you want to talk about expedition multi-days, you have to throw the Clark's Fork in there.
Of course, that's the classic.
But for the winds, I feel like Bull Lake gets all the publicity, but the South Fork Little Wind is where it's at.
Yeah, super cool.
And I have done Bull Lake.
Yeah, you didn't. The payoff wasn't as great as the South Fork.
Bull Lake had its place. So the story of Bull Lake, same thing. Scott Dent calls. Says, Bull Lake's coming in. You want to go? And I'm like, Bull Lake has never been on my list. But at this point, I had done the South Fork Little Wind twice. I had done the Portage Fest through the North Poposia. I had done the North Fork of the Little Wind 4 times. I had done the box. I felt like I was that was the next logical progression in expedition kayaking, was either Bull Lake or go to California and go to the Middle Kings. Mm-hmm. Everybody who I talked to who had done both told me go to the Kings. They were right. Spoiler, they were right. But I went to Bull Lake because it's a 5-hour drive instead of a 20-hour drive. True. So Scott Dent calls, wants to do Bull Lake. He's done it before. He wants to do it again.
So it must be good, right?
Yeah, that's just who Scott is. So it's the two of us. We're trying to find a third. The same time that we're going to go, the year before, John Baker had done Bull Lake in a pack raft.
Right, I remember that.
John hiked in the North Fork of Bull Lake, and they pack rafted in that way. Mm-hmm. We had looked at the topo maps and decided we were going to go in the Middle Fork of Bull Lake Creek. But we were going to hike in. So when John did it in the pack raft, they started in Pinedale, which is the west side of the wind range, hiked over the mountain range into the North Fork of the Little Wind, or North Fork of Little Wind, North Fork of Bull Lake Creek. We decided we were going to do the same thing. We were going to start in Pinedale. We were going to hike over the mountain range and go in the Middle Fork of Bull Lake Creek.
Okay.
But we couldn't find a third person. The same time, Stokesbury, Boomer, and Owen Doyle were planning a trip to go in the same route that Baker did and go in the North Fork. Luke and Draka was staying with Boomer up there at the time, and Luke didn't think that he would be able to keep up with Stokesbury and Boomer, so he jumped onto our trip.
Oh.
So we got our third guy. And so Scott comes from Washington. I come from Colorado. Luke comes down and meets us he's like staying with Boomer, and Boomer's in somewhere right outside of the Tetons. Mm-hmm. And so we meet up. We drop a car at the takeout. We end up, this actually matters to the story. So we dropped Scott's truck at the takeout, which is basically the dam of Bull Lake Reservoir.
Okay.
And then we drove my truck around to the other side up to the put-in, and Luke met us over there. And then we're packing our stuff. So Bull Lake is a huge hike in no matter how you do it. All the first descents, they actually started at the same place where you hike in for the day trip for the North Fork of the Little Wind.
Okay.
But you hike over 2 mountain passes, a couple drainages north to get to Bull Lake. And you come in on the South Fork of Bull Lake right near the confluence with the Middle Fork. And that was all the early trips had done that. Kiwi group had done the North Fork, and I think Janny was with them too. Janny's been all over this place too. Like he was big on a lot of the exploration stuff, and he's seen a lot of this shit too. They went in the North Fork, and I think we're the first ones up there. But nobody had gone into the Middle Fork. So we were the first to do that. No matter which way you go, you're going to hike over 20 miles to get to it. So we were like, well, let's start at noon. And we'll just hike 10 miles, we'll camp, and then we'll do the rest the next day, and then maybe we'll do a little kayaking the next day. So we met at the trailhead. We're packing our gear. We planned for 2 days of hiking. We expected 4 days of paddling. So we packed for, I think, 8 or 9 days. And every time when I would do these trips, this was before I had an inReach. The whole inReach comes full circle when I got hurt. But a lot of the time we would have an inReach in the group. But this is like pre-inReach days. So I would tell my mom before I go, I'd be like, okay, we're going to do this river. It's going to take us 5 days. It might take us 7. If we're not out by day 8, call somebody. But that's how I'd always phrase it. I'd be like,
Mom is an interesting pick for that one.
Yeah.
You might want to have an alternative emergency contact who won't have a heart attack waiting for you.
Yeah, well, be careful about those emergency contacts. I wrote an article for the American Whitewater Journal about that. Make sure that emergency contact is who you want to be an emergency contact. Because there's a chance it's not who you want it to be. I just, divorced guy, not using the ex-wife as that emergency contact. So
yeah,
my mom ends up getting to be that person.
Yeah.
But that's always been the thing with her is, kayaking scared the shit out of her for a long time. And then she kind of came to peace with it and was like, you make good decisions. You're not taking unnecessary risk. And
she knows you know how to roll.
Yeah. Yep. Can roll. It's when I get pinned, that's when I don't roll. But yeah, I would do these expeditions. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going here. Should take 2. If I'm not out by dark on day 3, then worry. Now I carry my inReach with me because she got the phone call the once. And now that she's had the phone call, I'm like, yeah, I'll pack that inReach and I will tell you when I'm at camp.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this was before I had inReach. Going to Bull Lake, I'm like, if we're not out by the end of day 8, maybe worry about us. If we're not out by morning, if you don't hear by me by morning of day 9, then maybe call. Yeah, we took 2 days to hike in, and since we did this trip, several groups have gone into Bull Lake, and they've all gone more or less the way we did. And it's because you can hike a trail. You're not bushwhacking.
No.
But we left the trail at one point and went up and over a saddle, and then we were just struggling through talus from that point.
Damn.
If you kind of loop over the next basin over, you can go over Hay Pass and go over a pass and like be on a trail to where we camped on night 2 after hiking. That was another story with Scott. Like we've hiked for 2 days. We finally get to the water. We paddle across a lake. The stream between these 2 lakes, that's Upper and Lower Golden Lake, is too shallow to kayak, but we've been hiking for 2 days, so we're trying to make it work. And we didn't put our gear on. We're still wearing our hiking clothes, and we're like in this river just like bashing our way down it.
God.
Get to this other lake, and we paddle across this lake, and then there's starting to be enough water to actually kayak a little bit. Like it's still too shallow and probably too steep and manky to be running, and we run like 2 drops to humor Scott. And I'm like, Scott, this is fucking dumb right now, man. Like if we're gonna do this shit, we need to gear up and do it.
Yeah.
Or there's an elk camp. Why don't we just call it a night and camp at the spot that has like a real fire pit?
Sounds appealing. Yeah.
So we stopped and camped.
Nice.
But yeah, so all of Middle Fork, Bull Lake Creek was first descent for us. It was like 6 miles of first descent.
That's cool.
Our group dynamic, the group dynamic, we're like from packing, became kind of obvious that we had different mindsets.
I've always heard Scott's a minimalist.
So yeah, and Scott wasn't the minimalist of the trip.
Okay.
Luke was.
Okay.
We're packing, and Scott's like packing backpacker pantry meals.
Okay.
I'm packing, like I pack ramen for dinners, tuna packets and tortillas for lunches, oatmeal, and a jar of peanut butter for breakfast. And then I had a bunch of Snickers bars for snacks. Scott brought a bunch of backpacker pantry stuff and oatmeal and like salami and cheese and tortillas. Luke brought a box of macaroni and cheese that he had the first night. And then every meal was butter sandwiches.
Butter sandwiches.
He packed 3 packages of English muffins and cut up a third of a stick of butter on each English muffin.
No way.
And that was his food plan for a week.
Well, I mean, it has calories. I'll give him that.
And that was his process there, was it's full of calories.
Yeah.
He's like, it's as calorie dense as I can get. And so I'm like eating what is tried and true for me on these kinds of trips. So I'm doing fine. But come day 3, I start having to have 2 lunches because I'm just calorie deficient at that point.
Sure.
And Scott's holding up fine, and Luke he starts suffering on day 3 because he's eating butter on English muffins. But it became pretty obvious early in the kayaking that our group dynamic was we would get out if it was possible, we would do the classic paddle up to the lip, one guy pops his skirt, looks at it, gives verbals. If we couldn't do that, we'd all pop out, look at it. And then I would go up and run it. And then they would either run it or walk it.
Yeah.
And that, I didn't catch it right away, but it became pretty obvious after like half a day of paddling this stuff that there were a couple drops where Luke wanted to be first to get that first D on some stuff. But in general, everything was, we'd get to it, we'd scout it, I would run it, and then based on my line, they would decide. And that was kind of how we picked our way down. And so we paddled first D of Middle Fork Bull Lake Creek. The confluence of the Middle Fork and the South Fork is unrun to this point. It will be run. Somebody's going to go in there who is fired up enough to run that section. But I think it's 5 drops. And I think it was the 4th one that was like too big of a dice roll for us. But eventually I think somebody's going to run that. And I've actually talked to Janny about that, and he had the same input. He's like, yeah, we actually thought about it, but it was drop 4 that turned him away. And he's like, eventually I think somebody will run that.
It's totally runnable. It's just
big. It is. It's just big.
Yeah.
Like you're going to need to put Daner Annual in there.
Interesting. Yeah.
With how much Owen's been charging, I could see Owen going in there and doing that.
Yeah. I mean, paddlers are getting better and better. There's going to be more capable of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's cool.
We did that. So back to the minimalist thing. I had done the South Fork Little Wind 2 weeks before we went into Bull Lake. And if you go to the winds, the mosquitoes are always an issue.
Sure.
So South Fork Little Wind, I took my 2-person tent, but I didn't take the poles. I just took some cord. And so I'd tie the tent up, and I didn't take the rainfly. I took a tarp because it was all lighter. Bull Lake, I thought, I can go even lighter, and I bought a hammock that had a bug net built in. So I was going to hammock it and then have the tarp for if it rained. Scott brought along like a single wall 2-person backpacking tent. Luke brought nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, we decided at the start that he was going to shack up with Scott in the tent. He brought a sleeping bag.
Well, okay.
So we're like, the first 2 nights we're doing that. I'm in my hammock. Luke and Scott are in Scott's tent. Well, we camped at Haagen-Dazsen on night 3. And Haagen-Dazsen is the reason I went to Bull Lake Creek. There are 2 drops in Bull Lake Creek that I went for. The first one is, I don't know if it's actually called Stomp or Be Stomped, but It's on the cover of Whitewater of the Southern Rockies, and the caption is "Stomp or Be Stomped." So I've always thought that's what it's called. But I went for that drop, and I went for Haagen-Dazsen. And we get to Haagen-Dazsen, night 3. We camped at Haagen-Dazsen. There were no mosquitoes. There's also no trees. So having a hammock as my sleep setup, not happening.
Problematic, yeah.
So we decided we were just going to sleep out on the granite because there were no mosquitoes. And we get there, we're looking at Haagen-Dazsen. Luke's like, I'm ready to fire this up now. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to run it in the morning. And I'm not running the entrance. And Scott's already walked his boat around it. And so eventually Luke's like, okay, I'll run it in the morning. And he wants to run it from the top. So we stop, we camp. 10:30 that night, this thunderstorm just moves in over us. Ooh. And we're sleeping out on the granite. And it just opens up and starts pouring rain.
Oh, brutal.
So I grabbed my tarp and just like put my tarp over the top of me. Yeah. Scott had a bivy sack, so he like crawls into this bivy sack. Luke crawls over. He's like, hey, can I crawl under your tarp with you?
Oh my god!
I'm like, yeah, man, get under here. Anything you want to keep dry, get under here. And so this is like 2 days of hiking, 1 day of hard kayaking. We're just getting poured on, and we're under this little tarp. And holy shit, does it smell bad.
Surprise.
I'm like almost gagging, like wanting to cry. It smells so bad. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, if he smells this bad to me, I bet I smell this bad to him. And I'm like sticking my nose out the end of the tarp. And eventually it just like thunderstorm over us and just lightning and downpour and just getting hammered. And finally it like washes over. I'm like, Luke, it's done. You can go now. But, yeah, that was just one of those nights. You do that kind of stuff, and
eventually it's gonna get you.
You become pretty close friends with who you're out there with, and I'm not gonna tell them no. But we had some smell to us at that point.
Yeah, that sounds gnarly.
So we get up in the morning. Luke still wants to run it from the top. I'm like, if you want to go from the top, Scott's already at the bottom. He'll set safety at the bottom. I'll set safety in the middle. It's like, if you want to go from the top, you got to go first so we can have safety throughout. And he changes his mind because this like group dynamic of I have to run everything first. So he decides he's not going to run it from the top, and he's going to do it from there's a sneak. So the Haagen-Dazsen sneak is you seal launch in and run a 50-footer.
Wow.
It's like 25 feet of slide to 25 feet of vert.
But the normal entrance is technical?
There's 2 big holes.
Okay.
I think it was Owen that I saw a video running it, and he just absolutely greased it. But it was too much for me.
You can't mess it up.
Yeah, no. So the reason it's called Haagen-Dazsen is on the first descent, it got messed up and swam. And it was the story of the reason why it got its name is this group was it was Brad Higginbotham, who has been on your podcast.
Heard of him?
Brad had done a trip one time where they couldn't say his last name, so they called him Brad Haagen-Dazsen.
I didn't know about this.
And Brad swam in this rapid, and they roped him out of his hole and got him out. But they named the rapid Haagen-Dazsen after Brad because Brad swam in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's not just ice cream for breakfast. It was named for a reason. But,
that's an awesome story.
So Luke decides he's not going to run it from the top. And then he's like, okay, we should rock, paper, scissors for who goes first. And I'm like, at this point, it's obvious I'm going first. Because then he's like, okay, if I win, is it to choose or to go? And I'm like, yep, confirmed, I'm going first. Because if I win, I'm going first. And if you win, I'm going first. And he wins. You're going first. I'm like, yep, I kind of figured. And I run it, have about as good a line as I think you can have. And I hike back up to the lip to, because he had his iPhone in, so I was going to video him, and he walks up to his kayak and gets in, splashes some water in his face. You can see him visualizing the line, pops his skirt, gets out, looks at it again, goes up, visualizes again, splashes his face again, pops his skirt, gives me the like finger across the throat. He's walking.
Really?
So he ended up walking it.
Maybe that night of discomfort affected his mental state. Yeah.
I don't blame anybody for walking away from something like that. You're so far from help, and
something happens there.
Big damn drop. And,
yeah, I bet.
And at this point, he's only eaten butter and English muffins for 3 days. And
he hasn't seen anything like whiter than slightly off-colored yellow. Yeah.
And we go down and we get to the top of the next gorge, and it's the Forked Tongue Gorge. Most of the water goes right, unrunnable. Some of the water goes left, is sort of runnable. We go in there, and Scott gets pinned right away, and we spend all this time like unpinning his boat.
Oh, shit.
It's so shallow that it's like, oh, the boat's pinned. I guess I'll just step out onto the shore here.
But it becomes a whole physical ordeal.
Yeah, and it becomes a sufferfest of portaging. And I'm like, if I ever went back, I would just get out on the right and just portage that whole gorge. Like, it wasn't worth going in that side, short of saying that you could. And then Bull Lake started to really show its character. So to this point, we've only done, it's called the lake section, and it's just pool drop through these like valleys, and the drops are these awesome bedrock drops, and then you come through the Forked Tongue Gorge and you're in the USB section. Which never occurred to me that this thing's called the USB section after Upper South Boulder Creek, which is, classic Front Range Mank.
Mm-hmm.
And this section is classic Front Range Mank.
Just in Wyoming.
And we finish that, and then we get to the Rocky Mountain Mank section.
Oh, no.
And
that's a bad sign.
Spoiler alert, it's Mank. And then you end up at this Jim Bridger portage that Stafford talks about being one of the worst portages he's ever done.
Oh,
and
that's not what you want to hear.
And it is a hard portage. That was the point where Butter Sandwiches caught up with Luke.
He's bonking.
He's bonking pretty hard at this point, and he's just like pissed off and bonked, and he's just like dropping his boat and falling after it kind of thing. And I remember looking at Scott and being like, dude, we need to just call it a day here, because somebody's going to get hurt, and you break a leg out here, we're fucked.
Yeah, you're far from
we need to just find a place to camp. And Scott's like, well, we're almost at Bull Lake Falls, so let's get to Bull Lake Falls. Let's camp there. And then that's a big portage in the morning. And at this point, it's class 5. I mean, it's all class 5 Mank. And we're kind of aggressively boat scouting. And then like I would get out, pick a line, tell them the line, and we'd be hit or miss on if one or two of us would miss the line. And eventually Scott missed one line, and Scott hadn't been missing too many lines, and he missed a line, and I was just like, I'm getting out of this fucking river, and I'm going to walk down river left until I find a place to camp, because this just isn't working.
Yeah, you're asking for trouble at that point.
It's like, we've all kind of bonked at this point. We're on day 4 of this expedition so far, and it's like we've been pushing
big days every day,
and big days, lots of hiking, lots of portaging, and I'm just like, no, we're not doing this. We go down, find a place to camp. I'll always remember that camp because we camped right at the lip of Bull Lake Falls, which is this 400-foot tall, like cascading drop.
Oh wow!
And getting up and having the morning dump, like looking over this 400-foot waterfall in the middle of nowhere is pretty nice.
Pretty unique. Yeah.
And we portage around that, and then it's the Rocky Mountain Mank Part 2 or something. I'm like, oh, shocker, more Mank. Yeah, Bull Lake has a lot of Mank.
Yeah. So if you go, know what you're getting into.
Yeah. So we end up finishing that and paddling out that day. And to top it off, you run all this Mank, all this portages, and then you get to the bottom and you get the pleasure of like a 9 or 10 mile long reservoir that you now have to paddle across. And we hit another thunderstorm.
Oh no.
And it just is this horrible thunderstorm. And we're like paddling across this, and now the like wind's in our face, and we're like breaking through waves coming at us, coming across this reservoir. And we actually had the discussion at one point. It's like, should we like go to the shore and wait out the lightning, or do we keep going?
Yeah, like is it unsafe at this point?
Yeah, we don't really know. So we kept pushing.
Wow.
Got across, and we get all the way across. We get to the dam, get to the takeout. We walk up to Scott's truck. Somebody has broken into it.
No way.
And has stripped everything that he had in there, which was basically nothing. He had. That was why it was important to note at the beginning of this that we left Scott's truck at the bottom. My truck had like my work computer, like all this shit of value in it. Scott left nothing in there, and like he had some LED lights in the camper of his truck. They ripped those off. Like,
man,
stole those.
No mercy.
And, got in. There was a note on it from Wyoming Game and Fish saying, "We found this car. We don't know if it's abandoned. Please call us." And it's because they had like left the doors open even.
Oh yeah.
But Fish and Game had like closed the doors and left a note saying, "Call us. Let us know if this is abandoned and we need to go get it."
Savages.
It turned out his iPod was in there, and they didn't see it. So we like get back and like everything's been stripped through. I had a couple apples in there. They broke one of the windows to get in, so I had these apples in there, and like our changes of clothes were in there, but all our wallets were with us.
Nice. Good move.
And like the keys for my truck were locked in the truck because I have the little keypad on the door.
Mm-hmm.
So all I had in there was like my clothes, but nothing in my pockets.
Nice.
And a couple of apples. And so they broke in and like ransacked his truck, but they got nothing. They missed the iPad or the iPhone.
The one thing that might be a little valuable.
But we're just like, at this point, we're just beat after this expedition, and we don't care. So we just go back to Lander and go get tacos.
Wow.
So Luke came with us because he was worried he wouldn't keep up with the other group. They didn't come out until 2 days later. We started the same day, but they spent 2 more days in there than we did.
Really?
That was a trip. Stokesbury first did that 30-footer in the North Fork of Bull Lake Creek. So they were a lot of stuff that we just
they were spending time checking out.
They
stuff,
were checking them out and looking to run stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's good stuff up there.